folks. It's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby. Baby. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? It is Tech Tuesday, 3 minutes behind schedule. Another technical difficulty snafu here on this end, but we're up and going and pretty good. First question is, can you hear me okay? Wanted to check on that. Trying something a little different here, seeing if we can run this without headphones here tonight. Don't know if we can or not, but we have got a very, very special guest. Very special guest tonight. Morgan Gold's with us, and this was a subject matter that he brought up a few weeks ago about thumbnails, rejected thumbnails of all types. And it's primarily going to be his show. We're going to just let him pretty much run with it. So let me get him on the screen here with me. There you go. Morgan, how you doing?
Gosh, Gerald, that's a lot of pressure, man.
A lot of pressure. Sherry, look at that shirt he's got on.
Oh, yeah, no. Courtesy of a two-family homestead.
It's a goose. It's a
duck.
A golden goose. So anyway, thumbnails. Thumbnails. So you just want to jump right into it? Or you want to talk about things first?
Yeah, I mean, we could, whatever you want, man. It's your show, but I'm ready to go talk thumbnails all night for folks and sort of how to get your best thumbnails, how to get thumbnails that'll get people watching your videos. I'm happy to talk about some of the things that I've tried that have worked, some of the things that I've tried that haven't worked, and I'll even show you guys some examples of that too.
Wonderful. Why is a thumbnail important?
Sure. So, at least in my eyes, there are three really important things that you want to do with your YouTube video above all else. And really, a lot of those other things matter a lot less than these three things in my eyes. Number one, you need to get people to click on your video. Number two, you need to get people to keep watching your video. And then number three, you want to keep getting people to watch your next video. And so if you think about those three things, numbers 2 and 3 are all about what's happening in your video itself in terms of how you're editing, how you're presenting yourself, your personality, your content, the type of community you're building around your content. All of those things happen within the video itself. And so number 2 and number 3 are at the mercy of that. But number 1, how you get people to click on your video and how you get them to start watching is all about two things. Number one, your title, and number two, your thumbnail. And so if I'm thinking about that recipe of titles and thumbnails, it's arguably one of the most important things you can do for your video. But I remember when I first started out on YouTube a couple of years ago, I like had it as an afterthought. I would just sort of scroll through my video and pick a still frame and say, hey, let me use this one. This should probably work. Or this is sort of representative of what the video is about. Or this is a picture where I'm at least not making a derp face.
Morgan,
and,
YouTube does such a fantastic job of selecting 3 choices for you.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, what's that?
For your thumbnail.
Oh, the YouTube pick a, yeah, that's always a fraught task. Yeah, that's never a good option. So making your own thumbnail is important. And it wasn't until about a year ago that I really started to put a lot of effort into it. And I've found that that's really paid off with my channel, where I've gone from, I think in about the last year and a half, it's gone from like about 5,000 viewers to about 125,000 viewers. And so that growth, so much of it I attribute to having good thumbnails and good titles.
I attribute it to the way you deliver your videos. You're so well spoken.
The content matters too. That's true.
So anyway, well, I'll tell you what. Let me get you on the full screen here, and Morgan, welcome to Tuesday
screen here. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to kind of show you guys a couple of things that I usually think about when I'm trying to make my thumbnails. And so what you guys see on the screen here is really, this is just my carousel videos on my channel of recent uploads. And
for some reason, and I'm not sure what I'm going to have to do. Share screen. Let's try that out. Now, did you take back your shared screen?
I just did, yes.
Go ahead and give it to me again, because I still had you the entire time. I wasn't seeing your shared screen. It actually came up as a separate window for me. So I'm looking to
Okay, how about now?
Now I have it, and now everybody can see it. So
I think there might be an echo.
So let me know when you want to be visible again, because I'll have to make another change.
We'll stick. I don't think people need to see my mug for a little bit here. So yeah, I wanted to show you guys just some thumbnails, and the ones that I used, as well as the ones that I opted not to use. So if you look at this, right? So whether it's a story about my dog and a chick and the birds that he guards, or the fact that I tried to put plastic arms on a goose, or I'm talking about a duck-goose hybrid, or my injured barn cat, or why geese are like lawnmowers, like any of these topics that you see here, I'm always trying to pick an image that tells a good story. And so I put a lot of thought into what thumbnail I create. And a lot of times when I'm planning out my video, I'm really actually trying to sketch out 3 things initially. Number 1, I'm trying to sketch out what's the value? Like, why would somebody even want to watch this video? And what's the story that comes with it? Number 2, what's the title? And number 3, what's the thumbnail? So before I even roll the camera, I'm really coming together with an idea of what I want that thumbnail or entitled to be. That way, when I'm making the video, I can actually take a picture with my phone or my mirrorless camera and use that image as the thumbnail, because that image is always going to be better. It's going to be crisper than the video. You can scale it up or down. You can crop it, and you can do a lot of things and play with it if you use like a photo editing software, which is what's going to take me to the next thing I want to show you guys. So, for example, if I look at okay. So here I have a thumbnail that's my dog hanging out with the geese. And this thumbnail was actually a rejected thumbnail for this story here. You want this dog guarding your bird. This one, and actually put it out there for the first few hours of the video, and I noticed that the click-through rate wasn't quite getting what I wanted. And so I opted for my second option, which is, hold on, let me pull it up. Right here. So again, it's the rooster hanging out with, or actually she's a hen, but hanging out with Toby. And when you have an image like this, usually what I'm doing is I'm trying to edit that basic image. So, I'm sorry, caught me working mid thumbnail on another one here, but find the source image for you guys. So here you go. I took a couple of pictures with my iPhone actually, so it's nothing fancy. And this is, actually it wasn't this image, it was, I think, this image? Yes. So this was the basic image I started with. So this was the image I took with my phone, and I edited it to ultimately make the thumbnail that you see right here. Now, though, you'll notice that there's a couple of differences, and the first one is that I really cropped it. Here, let me close this one out. You guys don't know this about me. I'm a tab addict, so I always have like a billion tabs open, way more than needed. So specifically, right, there is so much extra space all around this image that, like, you know, here's my subject matter, but all this stuff can effectively be like a distraction for somebody. And so what I often do is, what's nice with an iPhone photo or a photo on your digital camera is the resolution is going to be so good that you can actually select it, and then you can paste it into a new image. And so I always do 1920 by 1080, which is like an HD image. And boom, you can paste it. And so this is at full resolution what the image is. And I actually even cropped it, shrunk it down just a little bit to ultimately get to what this picture looks like. And so, you know, cropping to match exactly what you want and picking just the right image is really important. And I strongly suggest people spend time with it. And then the other thing I will do is I will often tweak the colors. So originally the color on the image looked like this, but then I decided to enhance the color around the chicken. I enhanced the color around my dog. And I even actually faded out the background a little bit so that it would be a little bit darker. And so by editing all of these things, you ultimately get the image that, you know, I found really popped, that ultimately sat with this thumbnail. Because again, remember, typically people are not seeing your image of your thumbnail in that big full resolution. They're seeing it shrunk down like you see here on this screen. And you'll notice I use lots of little splashes of bright color as well as patches of white. And that's because what I'm trying to do is have good contrast to try to draw the eye in. So Daryl, does that make sense? Any questions there? I know I'm going quick for folks. And I'm also missing any questions in the chat just because I have my other window open.
So far, there's been no questions in the chat. I don't know if you just have everybody mesmerized.
Mesmerized, yeah, I don't know. Here, let me show you another one in terms of how I do it. Because sometimes what I'm doing too is I'm not just taking one image, but I'm compositing several images. So, for example, if you see this second video right here on the screen, baby chickens meet old hens. We go into Photoshop. What you can see here is this is the thumbnail image that I ultimately cut together. But you'll actually notice that this is a combination of about, I think it's about 4 or 5 different pictures. So if I go into my folder for that project, you will actually see. So this was one image. This was another image. This was another image. This was another image. And this was another image. Now, this is one of my favorite like photo hacks of all time. I will sometimes set my camera up on the tripod and I will let the video roll, and then I'll move whether it's myself or animals around. And so again, in my videos, I work with a lot of animals, and getting the animal to do exactly what you want for a thumbnail can be hard. And so oftentimes what you can do though is if you keep your camera stationary and you keep everything rolling just the way it is and you select several different still frames, it makes it really easy to make a composite of, like you can see here, five different images. So So see how none of those images actually looked like the one I ended up with. And that's because if you look at the layers here within Photoshop, you know, these chickens in the lower left-hand corner were one layer. This chicken standing on the rail here of the chickshaw was another layer. I'm a separate layer, so that's there. These extra chickens hopping onto the rail were an extra layer. And then I actually also even softened the background a little bit so that my dog and me and the chickshaw and the chickens would all pop a little bit more. And then you can ultimately see the basic layer that I started with, the original photo, was just this picture of 3 chickens and my dog.
Morgan,
And when you pull it all together, you can get something flashy like this. What's that, Daryl?
there is a question. Are you making a couple thumbnail options when you make your thumbnail so you have different options? And I don't know if
Yes.
I don't know how you want to explain that.
That's a great question. I do it all the time. I will typically make somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 or 3 different thumbnails. And the reason is I want to make sure I'm really thinking it through. I feel like, look, I put about 6 hours into editing my videos. To take a half an hour and make a couple of extra thumbnails feels like time well spent, because that's how I'm going to market and promote my video. And so I will typically make a couple of different thumbnails. I will oftentimes like text them to a friend. Like I actually saw Kaylee from the Honeystead in the chat here earlier, and like she's one of those people who, you know, I will send her thumbnail options and say, hey, what do you think? Just to get a gut read of what somebody who's not as close to your video might say. And that reaction will help me decide which one I ultimately go with. That doesn't necessarily mean, though, that we pick the right one, because, you know, back to that point I made a little earlier, right? This thumbnail was not my original thumbnail for this video. In fact, it really was, no, sorry. It was actually really, this was the original thumbnail I went for the video that I just put out on Monday, but after it performed a little less than I wanted to, I decided to switch it up and try it out. And I switched to this one, and this actually performed a bit better. And I saw a good spike on the second day just based on switching out the thumbnail. So yes, I do multiple thumbnails all the time, and I really encourage people to really test out different things, really think through your thumbnails. Don't underinvest in your thumbnail, because that is going to be what draws people in. That combined with a catchy and interesting title, that's the key hook that's going to really market and promote your video and get people in the door.
What are your triggers to change the thumbnail? What do you look for?
It's really the performance of the video. So if I'm getting a video that's performing really well and I'm really happy with it, and typically I'm looking at the YouTube benchmark to say how's it comparing to my last 10 videos. If it's in like easily the top 6, I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to say, good, I'm happy. Let's see how it goes. If it's in the bottom 4 slots there out of my top 10, I might consider switching it. If it's in like 9 or 10, like this one was actually ranking as number 10 in my last 10 videos, I will switch it out. And making that switch, it may not work, it may not do anything for you, but I've had a handful of situations where it actually happens that way. Just to give you guys another example of that, here is another video that I did a couple of weeks ago. So a couple of weeks ago, I made a video with a few friends of mine. It was Don from Little Mountain Life. It was Tiffany from Our Organic Life. It was VW Family Farms. It was Farmer Jay. And it was Jack from the Mindful Homestead. And what they did was they all decided to hatch our duck eggs. And so they recorded their videos, and I ultimately edited it into like this half-hour video. And this was the video that I initially put out there. And I noticed, again, it underperformed. So this was the thumbnail I used. And I noticed in the first 4 or 5 hours, I noticed that it underperformed. It seemed like it was going to work. I really like this image of Don composited with this image of Tiffany, and we got the box. Really trying to tell a story with the thumbnail. And if you actually even look at it, though, I ended up going with this different thumbnail here. Let me see if I can find the file to show you guys. I can't find it. Shoot. Regardless, it ended up looking like this one right here. You can see it right in the middle. And what worked, I found, was that it was just a matter of fact that I think people were looking at our videos not finding us, and so they got kind of confused, and so ended up switching out to going to this composite image of several photos, and it worked a little bit better. And so, yeah, I am constantly changing out video thumbnails for folks.
Okay.
Are there any other questions, Daryl?
Well, in changing the thumbnail, do you do anything else at that time? Do you rename the video? Do you add informational cards? Do you change the description? Because I know you can do all those things, and I've always told people those are all things you can do. So,
yeah. So I never ever bother changing with the description. I just don't find it really matters that much. The description of the video. The title, though, I will switch out. I know there's other people who believe differently, where they'll say keywords are really important, your video description is really important. And I mean, I do write a video description, and I do pick out keywords for each of my videos, but I don't spend an incredible amount of time there. But I think I spend more time than the average person on my title and thumbnail, because I think that they are so make or break relative to everything else. I mean, again, if you think about it, you want to get people picking your video out of that lineup when they are browsing. So, for example, I'm just going to go to my personal YouTube homepage, right? So, if you can see this here, right? So, this is all hand-selected just from my friends at YouTube here for videos that they think I'm going to want to watch. And, hey, would you look at that? They think I actually want to watch my friends here at Two Family Homestead with Tech Tuesday. They're also suggesting my friends over at VW Family Farm. I don't know why they're suggesting a Wrangler Star video. I'm really not a fan of his. I've been on this crazy Hamilton kick right now, where I've just been watching and listening to it over and over again while I edit. And so it's suggesting all these videos related to Hamilton. And then, yeah, I just got actually a Zune Weeble S gimbal recently, and so I've been learning how to use that. And so it's been suggesting videos for that around me too. And so you see all these videos, right? Well, if you put yourself in the seat of one of your viewers, you're effectively competing with all of these other videos that are out here. And so your goal should be to have both a title and a thumbnail that makes you want to click. So, for example, you look at, like, my friends the Hollers here. It's more than we expected. And, you know, it's this picture of, you know, Meg and Ben, and they're in their house, and I know they're going through a remodel right now, getting ready to get the house fixed up before the baby comes. And so if I'm following their videos, that's an intriguing title to me, and that might make me click. My buddy Ost over at Homesteady, right? You know, he's been dealing with this issue with a sick cow, and, you know, it's a video clearly about celebrating a cow's life, and so that might be interesting for folks. And so when I'm thinking about my videos, though, I'm thinking about being in that sea of thumbnails, saying, how do I stand out? How do I have elements that pop? And it's using certain bright colors as like an eye grabber. All of those things are dimensions that you need to use to think about how do you create those thumbnails that stand out as well as attract people.
okay, Morgan, I was sure this was going to come up, but we have had the question: how do you change the thumbnail after you've already done the video?
Okay. So hang on a sec. I'm going to stop sharing for a second, just to make sure I don't share certain things. There is basically what you're going to want to do is, and I'm going to see if I can do this without getting too many details. If you look at your go into Studio, because that's where you have to do it. So you go into YouTube Studio.
Morgan, do you want me to do it over here?
Yeah, why don't you go for it?
Okay, hold on. I didn't have a screen set up for this, so we're getting there. screen. Sorry, it took me just a minute to set a screen up for this, but I think it's important that people understand how they how you can do that. So let me get this over on the screen so we'll share this with everybody. Okay, what you're looking at is I'm signed into YouTube as Two Family Homestead, and you're going to want to go to YouTube Studio. You can do that by clicking the little your icon up in the upper right hand corner. Just go to YouTube Studio. And then you're going to want to go to videos. So you'd select videos down the left-hand side. These are all uploads that we've uploaded, and then here are your live shows, including our current live that we have right now. But let's just go take a look at last night's. So you would then come in and click the little pencil here to edit this. And this is where you can come in and edit information on your video. You can change the title right here. Anything I change here, I would then have to click save or else it won't save it. But if I want to change the thumbnail, we just scroll on down here and you can see here there's 4 thumbnails pictured. The last 3 are ones that YouTube picked out of the live stream. So YouTube said, oh, these would be good thumbnails if you want to use them. This first one is the one that you have complete control over. I can download this, I can replace it, I can do whatever I want with this first thumbnail, and that is what becomes the thumbnail for that video. So it's that simple. You just upload your new thumbnail right here, click save, and it's done. If you want to change the title, you can just change it right here. Click save, and it's done. If you want to change the description, that's all done right here in the middle. Anything else, if you want to add an end screen, if you want to add informational cards, all of that can be done right here in this editing screen in YouTube Studio. So with that, I'm going to put Morgan's shared screen back. Which I still have your shared screen here. Is that right?
Hold on. I was actually off sharing. Hold on. I can go back to it.
Maybe it's just frozen here.
How about now?
Yep, that's got it. All right. So, yep, you're back.
All right, cool. So I mean, that's really all I had as I wanted to put together a spiel for you guys about how to think about thumbnails. It's really focus on telling the story in an image. It's like, you know, when I was a kid, I was really into like comic books, right? And you think about the cover of a comic book and how the cover of that comic book really encapsulates the whole story. YouTube's kind of the same thing, where you want to try to capture an interesting element of that story and communicate what your story is all about within that thumbnail. And as you do that, you're going to find that just it catches your eye better. I mean, here, we're going to go to do one little quick exercise before, I don't know, maybe we switch over to channel reviews. So this is my subscriptions tab, and I've subscribed to, let's see, I'm up to about 285 channels at this point. and so what you'll see is I like to look at the subscriptions tab because it just shows me what different types of videos people are making at this point in time. And it's interesting because, you know, you look at these and say, what's the type of thumbnail that stands out for somebody versus not? That to me is really important because if you can have those thumbnails that stand out and pop against a lineup like this, that's going to give you better odds of having a successful video versus, you know, thinking about your video just in a vacuum by itself. So just, you know, something worth thinking about. So Daryl, should we go to some channel reviews for folks?
Well, before we do that, let's continue on the thumbnail thing here.
Are there more thumbnail questions?
There's a couple comments that I'd like to throw in, get your opinion on them. And,
Alrighty.
One of those is when to use text in the thumbnail. That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, if you do use text in the thumbnail, obviously you have to be able to see the text and read it. But I have always shared with people my thoughts that you should not ever duplicate the text in your thumbnail with your title. I tell them, if it's not adding to, if it's not enhancing your video, there's no point in having it.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I as you guys can see here in my thumbnails, right? I use text sometimes, but not always. But when I do, I really try to make sure it's adding some sort of element to that title thumbnail combination. It's not just duplicating it. So, I never try to carry my title along in the thumbnail, but I might carry a key element. So, for example, in this video about duck and goose hybrids, I just have the word hybrids here and a picture of a duck and a goose. This video about, I gave my goose prosthetic arms. Actually, this one, I'm going to pull up this thumbnail just to really show you guys this one. So I actually spent a lot of time thinking about the typography of this specific thumbnail because I wanted to make sure I had something that popped, and I wanted to make sure that I had something that really grabbed people's attention. Let me see if I can find the video. Goose ad. There it is. So here you go. So this is that thumbnail that you saw there, just blown up for you. And I actually spent a lot of time thinking about how to make the text. I really wanted something funny that if somebody didn't even read the title, that it sort of explained why this goose had arms on. And so I made sure that goose arms was the most prominent text, and you could see it from a mile away. So, again, in this teeny tiny thumbnail view that I've got going right here, it's very easy still to read goose arms. And, I wanted to also do something a little tricky where I'd really try to have stopping power. And what I did there was I put my actually aligned to the goose. So it's like some people might just read it as my goose arms, which is kind of weird and makes you stop. And then I had the has off to the left-hand side, left adjusted, again, smaller than everything else, as a way to also sort of potentially catch people's eyes, because typographically this doesn't look right, but sometimes that's a nice little trick to draw people's attention to things. And so, making sure you have text in your thumbnail that draws the eye in, that highlights a key element of your video or something that your video is talking about, or potentially triggers a question for your audience. All of those things are wicked important and things I strongly encourage people to think about including. But what I discourage is don't do things where, you're either duplicating the text or you are, I see a lot of people also do like really designed scripty text. I never do that. I think that if it's too hard to read, it's not going to get the attention it does. Even some of the text I do, as I'm looking at it now, I'm like, I don't love it. Like, so for example, the animal politics of our farm. So this video here where I labeled my geese as aristocrats and my dog as law and order. It doesn't really pop as well as it maybe should. I probably could have done a little bit of a better job. An example where I do feel like I did a good job was actually on this one, the duckling who thought she was a goose. And this has actually been a really good performing video for me, where I had this idea for a story about a duckling that I hatched out with a bunch of geese, and she really thinks she's a goose. She hangs out with the geese all the time. And as a funny side note, the duck's name is Ron Swanson, and she's a female. And so I thought it'd be really funny to have just the text that says her name is Ron Swanson, which for people who know Ron Swanson, that's almost like cognitive dissonance. And it's also something that would get people to stop and think. And so I think that that's actually a big part of why this has been a successful video. And so, yeah, I believe in using text in thumbnails, but not duplicating your title and not making it too hard to read. And I pretty much, unless it's got some sort of visual effect, have a rule of never ever use like a script or a cursive font or like, you know, Canva has like a lot of thumbnail templates that I'm not a big fan of because I feel like it doesn't make the text prominent enough and pop enough. And so it's like really well designed if it was like the cover of a book, but it's not a good design for a thumbnail. You know, to give you another example of this, I'm going to go to a massive YouTuber. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with Mr. Beast, but I think he does great content. And if you look at his channel, right, his thumbnails he's probably the master of thumbnails right now. Like, he's just using good little bit of text. It really pops, draws your attention in, it gets your eye looking at the thumbnail, and he's really telling a story about what the title of his video is all about. And so, you know, I just, you know, study other people when you're thinking about what your thumbnail should look like, and look at people who are successful. And if there's things that you can learn from them and build off of, don't hesitate. I think it really is the only way you're going to ever truly kind of improve and evolve.
Okay, Morgan. Another point, like you to expand on here a little bit, is some people will individualize their thumbnails. Every thumbnail they make maybe has a purple border around it, or one side they have a bar down one side that's a certain color, or they have in one corner or the other, or someplace in their thumbnail, maybe their logo, or different things like that. But every thumbnail is consistent on that standpoint. I think that's just another mindset way of doing it, but I want to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, so I'm actually, I just brought up my channel and I switched the view of it to be a little bit of the Wayback Machine to when I first started my channel. And you can actually see my oldest videos from about 3 years ago, but I didn't really start posting regularly until about 2 years ago. And you'll notice I had actually a very specific kind of format for how I did the thumbnails of my videos, where it was like this white sort of handwriting text with like a black outline on everything. And I did that for the first, I don't know, 10, 12 videos. And then I sort of started to evolve it where I did that same text, but I gave it some sort of like orange strip or orange branding and like color that you could see like a box around it all. Again, I think it's nice because it pops, but if I actually look at it now, I'm kind of like, ugh, because I don't love it because it's so, it really takes away from the image. So the orange color block is really taking away from the image itself. And I think the most important thing you can do is have people paying attention to your image first and above all else. And so I did that for a while. I started to shrink the orange color box, as you can start to see it here. Even as recently as about a year and a half ago, I was still doing that orange box. But then I started to get to a certain point where I dropped the orange box. You can see an example of it here. You can see a lot of these videos. I started to actually think more about just telling a story with the thumbnail. I did have like this orange little strip that I used around the sides for a while. But after a certain point, I just decided, you know what? This is taking away from my video. I should just focus on the image itself. And what I've done in the last year has really just been focus on telling a good story with the image and something that I feel like draws people's eye and is a, you know, attention getter. And that's what I've done, and it's been working really well for me ever since then.
Okay, well let's pretend and turn the clock back again now once. What are your thoughts of going to an older video that you thought had good content, but it never got the views you felt it deserved? What about rejuvenating that video? Put in a new thumbnail, give it a new title, re-promote it. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so back in February, I took a vacation from YouTube. I was trying to write a book and needed just time to focus on that, and so I stopped doing videos for a month. But I still wanted to keep my thumbnail muscles strong, and so I actually went back and looked at some of my better videos that I never feel like got traction, and I actually made new thumbnails. So, for example, this video right here, our farm has 190 years of history. That's a new thumbnail that I made back in February of this past year. I actually saw a couple more of them up here just as we were scrolling through. So this one, this hidden message in our farm logo, this was a new thumbnail I made probably about a year and a half after I actually made the video itself. The simplest maple sap evaporator, that's another new thumbnail I made. Again, all of them being my attempt to try to tell a better story with the thumbnail, make it more eye-catching. And I actually found that it actually did help on a couple of them where they got a few more views than they would have received. And so I think it's worth it if you have the time. I think you are always better off just focusing on building new videos and keep improving those new videos than spending too much time going backwards. But if you have a video that you think is absolutely amazing and it's just not getting the play, you can try to tweak the thumbnail and you can try to get a little bit more momentum. I just have never found that I've had a breakout video come from an old video and remastering that thumbnail.
Do you have any videos that you feel are of the evergreen variety where they'll just constantly and continually give views?
Oh yeah, you know, it's funny. I actually just like 2 days ago, I had my first video hit 1 million views, and I was so stoked on it. And it's this video that I made, 9 months ago now. Apparently, it's this one called "Our Freakishly Huge Duck," and it's just a big Pekin duck that we have, and it's just such a. I'm holding the duck in a way where it's in the front of a wide-angle lens that it just looks massive, and that thing always is getting probably about 5,000 views a 48-hour period, and it's been doing it for 9 months, and so that's how it ended up really crushing like that at 1 million. And so yeah, I've got a handful of videos that are constantly driving views for my channel. If you actually sort by most popular, you'll see a lot of them up there. Like, so that freakishly huge duck, they say don't hatch ducks naturally, hatching ducks naturally, a video about my dog Toby. Like, these videos, yeah, I get a few thousand views every single day. And if I look at my overall channel views and sort of what's driving it, you know, it's probably about these like 10 videos are driving a good probably 30 or 40% of my channel's views on a weekly basis. And so having those hit videos is really important to having strong, successful channel growth, because those views are going to translate into subscribers.
What other tips and tricks would you give as far as your channel is concerned? We've talked about thumbnails, we've talked about titles, but what about just your overall channel layout and especially for, we have a number of people in here that I'm going to say are relatively new. They're still, trying to learn the ins and outs. And so what are some mistakes that maybe you made that you're now aware of?
Yeah, when it comes to channel layout and descriptions and all that sort of stuff, you want to do some basics and table stakes, but actually if you look at this header for our channel and like the banner of it, if you look like at our written description on the about page, if you look at even sort of how we have our homepage organized, I have not really touched it at all in years. I think this was the banner that I put up when we first really started making regular videos back in the spring of 2018, and I have not changed it at all. I mean, it's funny actually, if you look at it, it's just my wife, me, and our cat Pablo. Like, it's got no other animals in it, just because at that point in time we didn't have any other animals on the farm. And so, I don't invest a lot of time or energy in it, and I don't think that that's hindered me. What I think people should be spending way, way, way more time on thinking about is their content itself. And how do you make it something that's adding value for the viewer? How are you making sure that your edits and you're telling a good story and it sort of moves along really smoothly? How do you make sure that you are engaging people and hooking them in, especially in that first 30 seconds, in that first 60 seconds, in that first 120 seconds? Because the more you can do that, the more you're going to have that audience retention, which is going to drive promotion of your videos too. And so, for people who are just starting out and trying to figure out how to grow their channel, I know it seems sort of hard in the abstract, but to just focus on bringing people in with good titles and thumbnails and topics that are interesting to people, as well as keeping people watching by telling a good story, not wasting your audience's time, and making them really care about what's happening inside your video, and then keeping them going and keeping them wanting more by making sure that your story that you're telling in that one video is part of a bigger story that you're telling with your channel. I think if you just focus on those three things and making stuff happen within the elements of those three things, and you just remain consistent around it, that's where you're going to get your channel success. It's not going to come from having, a flashy banner or having a drone or having certain, kind of special stylings or branding around your thumbnails. It's going to be just much more, can you draw people in and can you get them to pay attention to things? That to me is really what's going to be make or break for your channel.
Well, I certainly don't disagree with that at all, Morgan, but obviously, as we mentioned earlier, as you talked earlier, the thumbnail itself is that's the first thing people see. They're going to see.
I mean,
they're gonna see
actually, one thing to know too, about my channel layout, yeah, I intentionally now just have my uploads and my popular uploads as my two main things when you first come to my channel, because that way it sort of updates in a way where I don't have to maintain it. It keeps it feeling a little bit newer and fresher, and it puts some of my most prominent content out there. If I actually scroll down a little bit, so I haven't updated these playlists in about a year, and it actually shows with the videos I'm selecting, and I don't think that that's hurt me at all. And so I wouldn't invest too much time in thinking about your channel design and layout. Just focus on making good content.
Okay, we had a question in here from Homestead Paradise. What would be your main tip for someone's first video?
Don't spend too much time and energy on it, because nobody's going to watch it, and really focus on just making a video, and then make a second video and a third video and a fourth video and a fifth video, and just get into a rhythm of making videos. Put your attention there. Don't worry about introducing yourself to the world. Don't worry about, making sure you have the perfect debut and you encapsulate everything that your channel's all about. Because to be honest with you, at that stage of the game, you don't even know what your channel's about. You're just a person who's starting to make videos. But just start with that first video, get it out there. It's going to be imperfect. It's totally fine. And really focus on continuing with your videos and continuing to build out your channel. That, I think, is so much more important than having just the right first video. It's, I'm actually going to pick on myself here. And if I look at my channel's first video, it's actually this video that I made a while back. It was December 29th, 2016. And I was just up at the farm, and I had my phone with me, and I decided I was going out to cut down.
Okay, Morgan, if you can hear me, we just kind of lost you here for a second, so just repeat that.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said the connection went a little crazy here, so just repeat that.
Oh, so there's no dialogue, there's no music, there's nothing flashy with it. It's just literally me cutting down a tree in a snowstorm, and that was it. And so it's up to 2,400 views. I think it really only had like 100 views for the first couple of years. I think people go back and look at my earliest videos. If I look at my first regular video, I just did a quick tour of our permaculture orchard, and I just sort of talked through everything. Again, not much to it. You can just see my trees, and it's just shaky handheld footage. Nothing really special about it at all. Again, I shot it with my phone. I started to get better and better, and as the videos go on, you'll see that they get better. But for people to invest, and I've talked to a lot of people where they spend a lot of time trying to think about what's the perfect first video, how do I introduce myself to the world. I would say don't worry about it, because it really just doesn't matter all that much, and really spend your time and put your attention to making people interested in your content and getting a rhythm and getting your own voice for what your channel's all about.
I totally agree with what you're saying. It's like, just do it. Who was that? Nike did that or something? Just do it.
Yeah, Nike. Yeah.
Okay. However, there are I don't probably there are a couple basic things that you do want to consider when you're starting a YouTube channel. You want a name that's easy to remember. That's almost, it should be short, simple, easy to remember. Goldshaw Farm, easy to remember. 2-family homestead. It's actually longer what I'd like to see, but it's easy to remember. You can type it out. Don't necessarily go in and customize your words with out of character letters to show this uniqueness about you, because people can't spell it and then they can't find you, especially if they're hearing about you from something else and they decide, hey, I heard about this channel, but what was their name again? You have to remember what it is. So you want a shorter title. You want something easy to remember. You do have to have, you don't have to. Lord knows you don't have to. All you need is a white snake and a van and a shower.
I think she makes great videos, for the record, by the way. But yeah, no, I think that's good advice, Daryl.
So those are just some of the things that I think are real important when you're just getting started. Sherry, can you think of anything? And I'm kind of looking at the chat here. Is there anybody out there that has any?
Well, Hank said his first video was 25 seconds. Hamiltonville Farm. Look where he is.
Yeah. Did you press record by mistake? Is that what you did, Hank? No. Hamiltonville Farm is in the chat, and Hank that's another great channel that is growing like crazy. He's found a little niche, and I think this is we haven't found our niche. Morgan's got the ducks. Hank's got his will it start?
You need a kilt. Sean says you need a kilt.
No.
You're sitting down, so it doesn't much matter. Oh, Hank says look at the lens, not the monitor.
Hank says look at the lens, not the monitor. And he may be talking to me, I don't know. But I've got...
Can't see you anyway right now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're talking... You're talking about when you're making your videos.
Yes.
Look at the lens, not the monitor, without question. Morgan, any other... Just basic...
Audio is way more important than people think. I think, people will forgive you if your video quality is mediocre and your shots aren't perfect and everything. Having bad audio will turn people off, and so really put your attention to having good audio, because that is going to make a big difference for you, above so many other things that you do, and especially in those early days.
Going Green Mom, I suppose it is a niche, but it doesn't seem to be a real big one. I mean, we have gotten a lot of subscribers, but what we're lacking, and what is driving me absolutely bonkers, is we love doing our Monday Night Live. We love introducing both the little guy and the big channels on our Monday Night Live show, where we get to just kind of sit back and relax. We've had Morgan on, we've had Hamilton on, we've had a number of people in the chat here I see we've had on. And the problem is they come on and then they go do something else on Monday nights.
I'm biting my tongue.
Biting your tongue.
I'm biting my tongue.
So I don't know how to change that. I don't know how to change that, but we love doing it, and we have no intention to stop and doing it. Maybe Morgan, maybe you got some advice for us.
Here, let's look at two. We're gonna start because I wanted to do at least a couple channel reviews. I miss doing these with you guys. These are fun. We're gonna go to Two Family Homestead here.
Well, this will be
All
good.
right.
Nobody's done my channel yet.
I know. All right, so let's take a look at. I feel like I should be doing the Daryl voice. Let's take a look at Two Family. It's like it popped up on the wheel. All right, so let's look at your videos.
Yeah, enrich refuge when folks make their background music louder than the voice. Yeah, that's irritating.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you guys do a really nice job with your thumbnails. They are eye-catching. You know, you actually really utilize like stock photography really well, which I think really gets people's attention. Like, you know, for example, like the Big Bear Homestead thumbnail right here. Like, I think that catches attention. I think the challenge, right, that probably exists for you guys is because you do live streams. Live streams have, generally speaking, a poor follow-up view rate, and so you have so many live streams that for people who are following your channel, you know, if they're not catching you live, you know, sometimes they'll do a replay, but it's going to be much lower, and YouTube's not going to do the heavy lifting for you and heavily promote a live stream. I find if I do a live stream and put that video out there within my, you know, viewable videos, it's going to underperform like maybe I think it probably does about 15% of the views as a regular video. And so within that first 48 hours. And so you just have to recognize that those live streams never get the promotion from YouTube that other videos get. You're going to get your watch time and you're going to get value from that. And YouTube will actually do a good job promoting your live streams when you are live, but they're not going to do much else heavy lifting for you. I think the other thing to think about is, and I'm looking for some of your other like regular videos, like, okay, so you have, you know, this Spider Farmer LED grow light video, right? And so here is a video that you've got, and it's, you know, okay, Sherry's unboxing the grow light, it looks like, and kind of goes through it. And I'm assuming you do an unboxing and review of it, which I think is good. The challenge is, right, with a video like this one, so Spider Farmer 1000 LED grow light, you know, you're only going to get search traffic. You know, nobody's going to see that video pop up in their browse feed and say, oh, wow, I want to watch that because I was wondering about that specific video. It's so hyper specific that you're just talking about that light that it really limits your potential audience way down to hyper niche. And if you do a lot of those, I think that that's okay. But, you know, if I look at like the last month of your videos, was that it's like one of 2 or 3 videos that you've done that, you know, is like a standard upload video. And so, you know, you might want to think about that strategy versus if you were to broaden that in terms of, you know, getting started with grow lights, or, you know, why we use this grow light, and try to really package it so that it's not playing off of just the search traffic. That might be something you want to try to play with as an example. I think like if I'm looking at like another sort of regular video that you guys have here of like cucumber salad, right?
Grape salad, cucumber salad. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I see like, yeah, like a number of salads here. You know, that's really, again, it's appealing to a specific niche. I'm trying to figure out what salad to make. And so it's a decent picture. It could maybe be a little bit closer on the salad itself. But like, you know, what's hooking people into wanting to see this salad video? You know, if you look at, you know, I admit I'm not a big follower of like the cooking niche, right? But if you look at those types of things, like what's making some of their videos pop and what's drawing attention within that space. You know, think about it from that perspective. And so it would be, you know, I guess back to your question of like, well, any advice? I would say as you think about your regular videos, what are you doing to try to draw people in? What's the hook? What's the story that you're teasing? What's the value you're giving people? And how do you entice them just a bit more around that? I think that would be the place to put your attention, and kind of get people in the door there. Does that make sense, Daryl? Any questions there?
Well,
Pushback?
okay. Well, let's, you know, since we're having this discussion here, absolutely, it makes sense. And one of the challenges that I find for us is the fact, well, we don't have a farm, we don't have livestock. Our garden is non-existent at this point in time. We did all that in the early days. We did a lot of the gardening and stuff. We were never able to have animals, building and so forth. And yet I'll tell you, I don't know how I ever found time to work, because now that I'm been retired here a couple of years, I absolutely have no time. It's just zero. But I don't know. I don't know where to go with it. I mean, I do a lot of woodworking stuff that I like to do, but I don't know a good way to. I don't want to lean too far from where we've started here.
Well,
and that's like, you know, we're making some merch for some people, for some smaller channels and stuff like that. Well, you know, that in itself is all kind of interesting, and I'm sure I could show some videos on that. I don't know that that's where we want to go with this.
Well, but I think you're actually tapping onto a really important dimension too, that for your channel, that I think you guys might want to spend more time kind of thinking about how do you define, because I think, at least as I think about what's the brand of your channel, what's the core of your channel, it's so much around building and supporting kind of the homesteading community, and offering people advice to help them get started in making their own YouTube homesteading videos. I think like that's at the core. When I think of you guys, that's what it's there. Maybe it's just because how I got to know you, but I think that's an important dimension. And you know, maybe the strategy that it could be out there for you is to say, how do you build on that video, and then you're doing a 2-hour live where you're interviewing, you know, Jason and Robin. Like, each of those things is just completely different. And so for somebody to want to be in your actual audience, it's kind of hard to know what to expect from your channel. And so maybe the thing you guys might want to think about doing more of is sort of niching down and adding a little bit more focus. So if, like, let's say you do want to go with this premise, and don't just run down this, but I'm just using it as a hypothetical. Like, if you want to be all about the YouTube homesteading community, like that's your focus of your channel, maybe what you do is a combination of both the live streams as well as like short videos that you shoot. And I know it's so hard in the age of COVID right now, but like if we were all at like Homesteaders of America this fall, like, you know, sitting down and shooting a video then with us and like just hanging out, you know, telling the story about different channels, giving people like more like tip-based videos that are related to things that you're typically doing on like your Tuesday tech video, videos like this one. Like, maybe it's focusing on more content that is similar to what you're doing within your live streams, but it's repackaged and condensed down to fit more of the sort of a standard YouTube video format. So for example, like, all right, here's an approach. You guys have so many interviews that you've done with YouTubers out there over the last couple of years. Is there a way that you could take some of the content from those interviews and repackage them as a video? So like, the 3 things that Goldshaw Farm never thought they would need when they were starting their farm, like something like that. I don't know. Like, maybe you could focus on doing videos like that augment what you're doing elsewhere. I think that could be a niche too. But I think, you're tapping into something that's right, that it is tricky for people to know exactly what to expect from you guys. So just some thoughts, and,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
probably more babbling than anything else.
No. And I certainly don't disagree. So go ahead with your critique here on the channel.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know. I think I kind of just covered everything, just in what we just talked through. Yeah.
Come on, Morgan, I got thick skin. Go ahead.
No, I am serious. I mean, if I was going to boil it down to a couple of things for you guys, I think it's focus a bit more and get more of a focus to your content, just because it does feel like it goes in probably 5 or 6 different directions, and so people don't quite know what to expect from your channel. I think that's one thing. I think focusing on doing more uploaded videos versus just live streams, because those uploaded videos are going to get the potential for a lot more traction. If I'm looking at your channel, right, and your most popular videos, yeah, so your most popular video is topping out at about 12,000 views, and it's going to be tough to drive your subscriber growth at a significant level when you've got sort of your most popular video coming at that level. The more you can have some hit videos and really have videos that catch and get people watching,
right?
I think that is going to help drive your growth. And so it's really sitting down, you and Sherry sitting down with like a pen and paper and sort of brainstorming what would be those handful of videos you could try to make in the next month
But
that
Morgan,
would be successful. Yeah.
Pay attention to our most popular video there. It's a pineapple
sunshine
upside
cake.
down cake.
Yep.
You definitely need to watch that and try it.
Am I missing something? I mean, no. I mean, recipe videos are legit.
You're not missing anything, Morgan.
Wait. All right.
That was like
I'm
two years
I'm
ago,
going.
I think.
Okay. All right, so it's a nice like hands and pans video. I'm watching it without sound just because I don't want to create feedback issues for. Actually, I guess I would create feedback. Okay, so it's a good solid recipe video, right? Is that what you're saying, Daryl?
I'm just saying I'm not a cook, and that video, for some reason, and I can't explain it, but it just gets views every week.
Oh, I could explain it just right off the bat. I mean, it's well shot. I mean, I actually like how it is. You get right into it. I mean, I'm not going off the audio, so maybe I'm missing something. But like, there's no, I think the biggest, complaint people often have about recipe videos and recipe websites, right, is that you've got this big long spiel before you just cut to the chase and get to the recipe. I mean, here you're running through the details of what you need to do within the first 10 seconds. It's doing it, and you have the recipe itself prominently here in the video description. If somebody's cruising YouTube for a recipe, this is easily an attractive video to jump to. So it totally makes sense why this would be more popular than if here, let's pick on something less popular. All right, hamburger soup.
Now, for anybody wondering, those videos were all edited with Filmora.
Okay, so all right, so let's put this side by side. So hamburger soup versus so if I'm doing pineapple sunshine cake versus hamburger soup here, if I look at the first, and again, I always emphasize this, the first 30 seconds of your video, you need to grab people and make them not want to give up on your video. And again, this is a little tough because I'm not going off of audio, but just if I'm going off the visual alone, I can see Sherry starting to make this pineapple thing in the first 15 seconds. If I'm looking at hamburger soup, we're already at 23, 24, 30 seconds. You're 42 seconds. I'm seeing a stock photo of utensils and then pots and a crock pot. And so it's like all this stuff. It's a minute 20. All right. Finally, a minute 40, I get to the actual footage of the recipe itself. And so, you know, the odds are if you're going to look at like your video, like your audience retention graph of your video, you've lost so many people out of the gate here versus compare the audience retention graph of Pineapple Sunshine Cake. I can almost guarantee you, like, here, I'm gonna draw a picture, Daryl, and see while I'm drawing this picture, see if you can pull up the retention graphs of these two videos and see if it actually looks like that. So Pineapple probably looks like something like this. Hamburger. So wait, do I need to stop sharing, Daryl, to just show you what my graph looks like?
Well, just hold on a second because I was trying to.
Yes, Megan, we put apples in the hamburger soup. That's how you know it's done, when the apples float.
That's interesting in and of
Yeah,
itself.
it's Daryl's grandmother's recipe. It's a German recipe, and Kayleen
right.
and Kayleen Celia know how to make it.
And just for everybody's amusement, I guess, tonight's video has already been flagged. Is running limited or no ads due to content identified as not suitable for most advertisers. It remains fully playable and is eligible, but they have already flagged us as limited. So I'm going to request a review, even though we're still live in the show.
Aren't they doing that now for all live streams?
No,
They do it to us.
they do for us, but not everybody.
Oh, I gotcha.
I'm trying. Let's see.
So sorry, I don't need to show you the graph, but I can guarantee you that within the Pineapple one, you might lose like your first 30% of your audience in the first 15 seconds, but you're then holding on to a large chunk of that audience throughout the whole video here because people are trying to follow along for the 6 minutes. On Hamburger Soup, I bet you've lost everybody. You've lost probably 80% of your audience by the first 30 seconds.
Well,
I've
got
Daryl?
too many. I have too many things open to
Okay,
dig
all right.
into.
So we don't have, but I guess, but that's my point though. So to your question of why is one video probably more successful than the other? I mean, if I'm looking at the breakdown of it, I think it's a big part has to do with the fact that you know, people are getting turned off in those first few minutes because you haven't cut to the chase versus Pineapple Sunshine Cake. You nailed it right in the first 30 seconds there.
You're the first person that said that, but I do see where you're coming from.
Yeah, so do I. Exactly. I can totally agree with that.
You know, I think if I look at your other most popular videos, right, a little bit about us is an interesting one, right? Because people are looking probably, I think for your channel specifically, because you have so many other people's followings, whether it's like a channel like my channel or Weed 'em and Reap or Roots and Refuge or Doug and Stacy, like any larger channel that's coming on your channel, they're often sending some of their viewers to you guys to watch the interview with that person that they're familiar with. And so when they're stumbling on your channel, so you're probably having like a high rate of people stumble on your channel and wanting to learn more about you, a little bit about us and like the thumbnail and the pictures of you guys, like, okay, that like this might tell me what these people are all about. And if I'm looking at this one, you know, you're coming to it. It's sort of interesting. It's got the 2-camera effect, which is interesting and might catch people's eye a little bit for a little while. But, you know, they're probably trying to watch it to figure out what you guys are all about.
Yeah, it's just a talking
yeah.
heads video.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, so those are some of my thoughts on Two-Family Homestead. Hopefully I haven't made people mad.
No. No, but I noticed you haven't joined yet.
I'm subscribed. Oh, I haven't joined.
Gotcha.
So
Those are good points, though. Valid points, Morgan.
absolutely they are.
Totally agree.
All right. So do other folks want to get brutally honest channel reviews that will alienate you. I'm feeling really bad, by the way, guys.
Yeah, Morgan, I'm really not, because normally when I do the channel reviews, I'm using both computers so that I can.
Okay, I got you.
And I'm just not set up for that here tonight to do that. But if there's somebody out there that says, "Hey, Morgan, take a look at my channel,"
Yeah,
I'm
looking in the chat. Let's see who's out there.
Put it up in the chat right now, and Morgan will pull up your channel, and he will just annihilate you.
Yeah,
in a nice way.
All right, who else is out there? Who wants a review?
Morgan, I'm trying to remember when we first met you. What you did not have very many subscribers.
Oh, I was less than 1,000, I think. I'm pretty sure. So wait, yeah, I was definitely less than 1,000.
Yeah.
All right, Going Green Mom. I see her here. All right, let's check out Going Green Mom.
Good old Megan.
I am not familiar with Going Green Mom. All right, there she is. All right, let's subscribe to Going Green Mom. What she got here? Okay. She's got a couple of videos. Overall, you've got 6 videos here, so you're nice and new. That's good. So I guess, is it Megan is Going Green Mom?
Yes.
Okay, so Megan, I think, so let's start with your thumbnails. I think, number one, what's interesting is it does seem like you've got some sort of a focus to your channel, which I think is going to help you, where I'm seeing sort of histamine intolerance and, how to think about your health, like as at least coming up in a few of these videos. And I think that that's good because that's going to at least give people sort of a niche to think about you in. You might want to wonder, is that going to be a focus enough for you? I am completely unfamiliar with histamine intolerance, so I don't know if that's a big audience or not. But it's good to have a focus. I think what I would push you on with your thumbnails is they are, I think that your best one, your 2 best ones are the ones that actually feature pictures of you. So this sprouting for sulforaphane and another fresh food, and my health journey, vitamins and supplements. Those are probably your better thumbnails just because it's nice to see a person and connect in with you. And okay, I can see you. And at least in the sprouting one, you have the Yummy Sprouts text on there, and that's pretty clear and readable. So I think that those are all pluses. So I think I would go there. I think in ones where you have like the changes and plans for the garden, and I think that's a close-up of kale. It's tough to tell in the thumbnail size right now, but it's hard to see what's going on. The text is kind of hard to read. It's one of those sort of handwriting script texts that I'm not a huge fan of. So you might want to think about, like, would something like that be better if you're talking about your garden, you're doing a garden tour video, to show yourself in the garden itself, to show a wider shot of the garden so that if somebody's seeing it in this little teeny tiny thumbnail size, that it's coming to life to them. And so really think about how to tease that out. So that would be one thing to think about. I think, your first video too, this low histamine food storage plan intro. Again, think about your title, right? So the thumbnail, I think you'd use work because you're dedicating so much of that to almost repeating the text that's in your title as well as to the green background versus, all right, I'm going to brainstorm with you right now on low histamine food storage. So, how to store low histamine food might be the way you might want to restructure that, right? Because if somebody's searching around low histamine food, or that's something that they've watched previously, other videos on that topic, that might be something you want to focus in on. And so it could draw people's attention there. Showing your storage system and showing, like, if I'm picturing like a pantry with like nicely stacked glass
Big bear
jars or something like that. Maybe that's how you do it. I don't know if that's how you do it or not. But something that's visually eye-catching, showing the storage system, that's like teasing out that story. I think it's stuff like that, photos like that, that are going to get you so much more attention than sort of the green background and a repeat of the text and like a tiny little picture of you. So it's worth thinking about. And maybe it's like a picture of you holding a container, sort of like this, and you're kind of showing it off to people. Like, you want something that's going to create a question in people's mind to say, oh, what is this storage system she's got? Why is it so good? Maybe I want something like that. You want to attract their eye. You know, like one exercise I think is always good for people to try to do is like go into like Pinterest and scan through the articles in Pinterest. And you'll notice there's things that catch your eye. When something catches your eye, stop and say, why is it catching your eye? What is it about it that's doing it? And see if you notice some patterns, because it's that same type of an approach that you might want to try to apply to your thumbnails. So that's a thought there. I think the grace and sustainability with histamine intolerance one, I'm sort of struggling with a little too, because I'm seeing this weird thumbnail that's got, I can't tell what's on the spoons, but it's like looks like a person or a thing on the spoon. And then it says how many spoons, and it's actually the text of the last words even covered up by the time display of the YouTube video itself. And so I'm just not even sure what I'm looking at with this video. So again, to focus on teasing out the story of your video and the benefit and why somebody would want to watch that video will get you there. If you're talking about grace and sustainability, and like how do you have grace and sustainability with the histamine intolerance, that's kind of an interesting title. I think of all your titles, I think it's actually one of the more interesting ones. I would just love it if your thumbnail worked a little bit more in conjunction with it. Now I'm going to actually click on this video and see what you got here. All right, so you're in your car, and again, this is entirely unfair because I'm not judging the audio of your content. It's just solely visual. So it's you talking in your car, and it is probably, I'm going to guess you're probably telling a story, and that's good. I think storytelling in videos, I'm a huge fan of it personally. I think, though, the one thing I would push you on too here is, you know, this is a 17-minute video, and it consists entirely of sort of this one shot of you in your car. You know, are there pictures you might want to introduce? Are there, do you want to just even change angles? One of the things I find is an easy trick when I'm doing a video where I tell a story, I will often, you know, make sure, like if I was thinking about like writing the story out, and every time it would be like a new paragraph, I'll change the camera angle just a little bit. Just by changing that little camera angle and more motion to it, what you're going to do is actually make it more visually appealing. So as you're thinking about doing a video like this where you're telling a story, you might want to think about exploring ways to change things up visually.
Oh, and hand talk.
And hand talk, you guys aren't probably looking at me, you're just looking at my screen right now, but yeah, my hands go a mile a minute. I get comments from people about it all the time, but I actually think it helps because it like hypnotizes the audience to stick with it. And okay, yeah, I'm looking at the comments here. Yeah, Megan's saying that you won't get anything other than that, basically just talking about dealing with flares. But Megan, I think that's actually a really important thing. The idea that you have a channel where you're telling your personal story about dealing with your flare-ups and your personal challenges and how you deal with that to me, and I'm not even somebody who even knows about histamine intolerance, that in and of itself is interesting. And so focus on building on that, because I think it's going to be stuff like that that really attracts your audience and that gets people, you know, interested in your videos, even if they're not even all that familiar with your niche. And so how you market your videos to play up that angle of, hey, this is me telling my story and this is me talking about how I deal with these things. You know, I think that's, you know, I think that's the thing that actually really will help you build an audience and a following. And I know you're brand new here. You've been doing this for 2 months. You got a handful of videos, but sort of just focus on building that and connecting with people and telling your story. That's the most important thing you can do. Hey, we got the Stivers here, and we got Big Dreams Homestead here. Wow.
Big Bear came in.
Hey, Jason. I just sent Jason a package. I wonder if you got it. So who else wants to go? All right,
Mama Z.
Mama Z.
Mom. All right, Misty, let's go. Oh wait, it's Mama Z Kitchen, right?
Mama Z's Texas Kitchen.
Mama Z's Texas Kitchen. There we go. Ah, but I'm not subscribed to Misty. There I am. All right. Ah, see, I'm loving these thumbnails. These are good. And I know her channel is all about cooking and recipes, which is great. She's got a focus to it, especially, even down to the name, Mama Z's Texas Kitchen. Like, I feel like I know what I'm getting when I'm there. Your channel branding's good. I think your thumbnails are looking good. Yeah, like, I'm gonna look at your videos tab here. Yeah, I think I like a lot of what you're doing here with your thumbnails.
Losing them again.
Okay,
Lost
we've got an internet interruption here on your voice.
Focusing on play with that more and more, but I got to say, I think you're doing a great job with your thumbnails, especially in the last month or two. Wow. And actually, as I go back and look at what you were doing, the improvement and leaps and bounds changes that you're making here, this is awesome. And I think that's great. I think, one thing I'm observing, right, are these mostly, it seems like you have a lot of lives, right? And so I'll actually come back to that comment I made earlier for Daryl and Sherry, where if you're thinking about lives versus an uploaded video, you are going to have much better odds of getting more people to watch that video if you focus on going and uploading a piece of tight content versus streaming something. YouTube is going to do a lot more work for you to promote that video than just the live itself. The live, they don't promote significantly. And so you're going to catch a handful of folks who catch you actually live. You're going to catch a couple of folks who might come to it from other places or are a fan of your channel, but you're not going to get the type of promotion that really will help make your videos blow up. So, focusing more on doing the streams themselves or doing uploads versus streams, I think that there's a lot of value there. So that's one thing. I think let's take a look at your content, because I think this is the other thing that's important. So you have a great thumbnail that's drawing people in. So I'm on this French toast video, and yeah, so for the first minute here, I'm just getting the your Texas flag and your name, and I think that is going to turn people off, and so that's not helping you. I think it looks like you're cooking in your kitchen, you're talking, you're going through. Yeah. Okay. So it's you cooking, and it's a live stream. So again, and your production abilities are so limited when you're doing that live stream. Same thing here. Let's see if I can try to find a video that's not a live stream. And Misty, if you have one that you think I should look at, let me know. Was this one? Yeah, it looks like this one might not have been. This looks like a regular upload. This Depression era vinegar pie. So with this one, it's all right. So it starts off. You kind of almost kind of double up on your thumbnail at the beginning. You might want to cut that out because, again, back to that point I made earlier, I find that the first like 30 to 60 seconds of your video is like so make or break. What you want to do in that first 60 seconds is hook people into your video and wanting to see the outcome. And so if it's like a recipe video, you might want to include like a shot of the finished product to say, hey, let me show you how I make this vinegar pie, which is what people use. This is what my grandmother used to eat in the Depression. And like you start with that and then you go into it, versus if it's just you talking with all the ingredients out there, I don't think you're going to hook your people in as well. for what that's worth. So you might want to explore doing that. And then, yeah, it looks like you have a lot of time, especially in your first like minute and a half, where it's all one camera shot and just you talking for those first couple of minutes. The more you can change it up, and I'm not saying you need multiple cameras and you need to do a lot of fancy editing, but just even, you know, say your first couple of sentences and then reposition your camera, and then say your next couple of sentences and then reposition your camera again and say your next couple of sentences. What that's going to do is it's going to make it a little bit more dynamic. Focus on close-ups of your ingredients, close-ups of your hands doing the work. The more you can do that, and I know it's so much more labor-intensive to shoot, but you're going to get rewarded by having people want to hook into your video and kind of get more out of it. So just a couple of thoughts for you.
Morgan?
Yes.
Jason wants you to do his channel here next.
Oh, Big Bear. Oh, man. I'm never going to hear the end of this one. All right, let's do it.
Zach, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Very, very much.
All right.
Or Jen, whoever it is.
Okay, so let's see. Let's look at some of their videos and some of their thumbnails. Start there. So I think these are good. I think titles are really solid. I think a couple of thoughts for you guys on. I really hope I'm not alienating people here doing this, and I hope this is helping people. So a couple thoughts on your thumbnails. I think your titles and your thumbnails, to a certain extent, work really well for people who are your audience already. And you guys got a decent following. You got about 20,000, 21,000 subscribers. And so you have a core audience there. And so I think your titles and thumbnails work well for the people that know you. But I think that there's more you could do to draw in new audiences and really grow your channel in terms of what you do with your titles and thumbnails. And that, you know, I think if I'm looking at a lot of these thumbnails, you know, like Robin's Birthday Bash, you know, all right, if I'm not familiar with you guys, there's no way I'm clicking on that video. When Things Go Sideways.
But it was
If I don't know you guys, and I know
day.
you guys and love you guys, so I would click on this video. And I actually think I might have seen the When Things Go Sideways video. Like, you know, it's those types of things that are going to draw people in. You know, I think it's a lot harder for finding new folks. I think two videos I see here I can tell you guys are trying to draw new people in is How to Save Mustard Seed and How to Build a Strawberry Bed for Beginners. Both of those, yeah, you're hitting on topics that you think people might be searching on, which I think is good, and you know, topics that might interest people. The thing with the mustard seed thumbnail, though, here's a little critique for you guys. If I'm thinking about mustard seeds, I can see it's sort of like I can see like the stem and plant of mustard, but like it's not really the seeds. And it's hard to tell, especially if I'm looking at this like little thumbnail size view. And then even the text doesn't quite pop as well as it maybe could, because, you know, red text with a yellow border, it's sort of tough on the eye. And so you might want to think about whether it's doing like you know, I find black and white is a much better thing from a contrast standpoint, or you might want to do like a bar to help make the text pop a little bit more. And then, like, if you and I were like texting, and I do this with a lot of friends, and you know, Jason, you're welcome to do this anytime, where it's like, you know, I need an idea for a thumbnail. Like, you know, I often go back and forth. I have a couple of friends who I do this with all the time, where we just talk about thumbnails and say, hey, what would be a good idea for this? Here's what the video is about. You know, I would picture like I'm going to try to create it for you guys right here. So picture holding your hand out with the seeds in your hand, but then your face kind of further out, almost like my... Oh, wait, you guys can't see my screen, can you?
No.
Is there a way to show my screen, Daryl?
As far as you,
Yeah, my camera. Sorry.
hold on. I just have to grab the other one here.
Okay. So if I'm creating this thumbnail here right now, and it was a thumbnail for mustard seeds, what I'd want to do is something like this, where rather than thumbnail drives, picture those being mustard seeds. But you see my hands really close in the foreground, but then you see my face in the background. You might even see the mustard plant in the background a little bit. And I would really try to make it contrasty and pop. You know, the mustard seed thumbnail you have here right now is very much focused on just showing there's like a lot of green to it, and it's not really defined. And so the more you can have like those contrasts, and the more that you can have the image pop at this tiny size that you see when you're looking at like your whole video carousel within YouTube, the more you're going to get people to click on it. And so, you know, focus on putting just a little bit more design into those thumbnails. I think the other thing is too, if I look at a lot of these thumbnails, I don't know if you guys can go back to the screen capture now. Sorry. If I'm looking at a lot of these thumbnails too, I don't know how many of them are actual photos you're taking versus just stills that you're pulling from the video as you're shooting. And so to focus on finding like the really good lighting for your stills and focus on finding good contrasty images, it's gonna make it better. Like, so like this Daisy turn to have a calf, big plans for 2020. Actually, I like this one a lot more than a lot of the other ones. The Daisy had her calf also like a lot, because those are good eye-grabbing visuals versus other ones where they just sort of feel a little grazy and gray and muddy. Like, so the crazy day vlog on the Big Bear Homestead, where I think it's Robin getting licked by the dog, like, it's sort of muddy and darker, and especially when you're in the smaller size, it's harder to see what's going on. And so I think the more you can get those contrasts, the more you're going to catch people's eye and really get them to click. So I know I just threw a lot. So it's more contrasty, more visually eye-catching images in your thumbnails. And then also make sure that they can appeal to people who aren't just familiar with you, but also to attract new audiences that really help drive some of the growth of that channel. And then if I'm looking at the content itself, and again, really unfair, no audio here whatsoever. So this is the mustard seed video. All right, so it looks like Jason's, and I actually think I saw this video. Jason's teeing up the video itself. You play your little quick channel intro, which is fine. But again, you've gone your first 30 seconds, 60 seconds. All right, so it's about a minute 15 before you get to the close-up of the plant and really showing what's going on. I think that if you can get to that image and get to something that's going to appeal to people quicker, it's going to help your audience retention rate. Again, you know, and I feel like people often talk about, and we talk about it a lot, like on Tech Tuesday, Daryl, you do it a lot, is like the importance of the title and the thumbnail. I'm also going to preach for people the importance of those first 30 seconds and those first 60 seconds to really be eye-catching and grab people and hook people in. Because if you can improve your audience retention rates, YouTube's going to promote your video more. And so the more you can do to enhance that, it's going to be to your benefit. And so that means probably more close-ups and more images that really try to draw people in and bring them along with your story. It would just, that would be one of the things I'd recommend from a content standpoint. I mean, your video itself, your quality is awesome. Like, it's well lit. It looks good. I'm going to guess you're even using a gimbal. It feels nice and steady. It's not really shaky handheld. You've got these great close-ups here showing how you're pulling out the seeds. Like, that stuff's awesome. And so you've got very good content. I think the more you can focus on hooking people in those first 2 minutes, and I would even suggest experimenting with dropping like your little you know, it's like the guitar lick with the Big Bear logo that you guys run. Like, try dropping that too, because that might be a barrier to audience retention. Like, again, you know, people they're on your channel page. They see your video name right down below and your channel name right down below. You might not need to go into that. So, that would be another thought for you. Focus on having more of a hook in those first 60 seconds. Any questions there? And I have been looking at the chat, so it didn't even pop.
Rebel Canners is asking, what's a good audience retention rate?
So here is actually something I have found. When it comes to audience retention, I have found that my most successful videos have horrible audience retention, because what I've found with the YouTube algorithm is they will keep promoting your video over and over and over again until your audience retention rate by the end of the video is like 15% or 10%. Like, it gets down to ridiculous numbers. Like, here, I'm going to actually bring up a graph here for you guys in a second and show you what I mean. So I mentioned I had this video that just hit 1 million views. I'm going to guess that the audience retention on that video is ridiculously poor at this point. And I'm going to pull up the numbers and show you. Hang on a sec. Okay, here you go. So here is a video that has received 1 million views. And if you look at the average percentage viewed, it's down to, oh, and I'm sorry, it's getting cut off on the screen here. Let me shrink this for you. It's down to 27.9%. And if I look at how much of the audience, and actually this is an important gauge, how much of the audience has actually stayed all the way to the end of the video, it's 7%. 7%. That's ridiculously low. That's poor. That's terrible. But it doesn't matter, because it's just been a matter of YouTube keeps promoting this video to a certain niche of people, and some of those people are going to stay, some of them aren't. And so the more successful your video is, the worse the audience retention rate is. And so I have people who ask me this a lot, of like, well, what's a good rate? And it actually doesn't really matter. What you should be focusing on is how do you improve your rate and what you're doing. And I think maybe the only other thing I would say is, what you want ideally for a video to hit and for a video to pop, you want this number here at the end. So not this average percentage viewed, because I actually think that that's less important, but rather the percentage of people who are staying all the way to the end. If you can, at least in the first week, have that video be above 50%, YouTube's going to do more things to help you out. And so here, I'm going to pull out and I will give you some more examples. You can watch Jason doing his thing.
Just so you're aware, Jason says he's taking notes. So
okay. I was gonna say, Jason says he stopped being your friend. All right. Yeah. So here you go. So this is a video. Baby chicken eats old hens. What could go wrong? It's actually been doing pretty well for me. I think it's like, how many views is this thing up to yet? Right now, it's up to. So this one's up to about 75,000 views, and it came out on Thursday, so it's been less than a week. And it's already traded. If I looked at it, like say 3 or 4 days ago, it was up over 50%. It's already traded down to about 38.6%. So again, it didn't matter. But what is important is, and what I'm really paying attention to is, if I look at that first minute, right, I'm still up over 70% in that first minute. And so that, in my eyes, is a really good thing. If I can keep a big number of audience there in that first minute and really hook people, it's gonna drip off, and you roll through the video, it goes down. I don't have any really crazy spikes up or down one way or the other. It drops off at the end. See, this spot right here is right when my end cards probably flash up. Like, yeah. See, so you just you can see it. So the cards are popping like right at this point in the video. Usually, like, I'm sending people to my next video right about here, and this is the end of the video. And so people really drop off in mass at that point. But before then, it's hanging in there. And so, that's ultimately one of those things that you want to think about, is just how do you hook people in that first minute or two. So there you go. That's my review for you, Jason. Any other questions, Daryl or Sherry?
I'm just kind of looking back through here. Farmer Brad is in the room. He says hello, and
Hey, Brad.
yeah, his Farmer Brad's 3 words are hook, content, and finish.
Yes, 100% agree with that.
Farmer Brad is asking, have you tried chapters to get more views at the end?
I honestly haven't. I've noticed a lot of people are experimenting with it lately, but I have actually never tried chapters. I probably should, but I haven't seen it hurt me. But I know it's also relatively new, so I don't know.
So,
all right, should we do one more before we wrap up?
That's entirely up to you.
All right, let's do it.
Hey,
I'm
good.
Let's see who's in there. We'll do one more for folks. I want to alienate a few more people here tonight.
Okay. All right. Who else would like for Morgan to just rip your channel apart? And I say that smiling. Smiling behind the mask. Okay, Mama Z is asking what is chapters. If you could go ahead and explain that.
Yeah, chapters it's a new feature within YouTube. You can actually, and here, let me see if I can actually try to do this in a video. You can set up chapters for your video. I think if you go into the editor, you can add in an element. No, I guess you don't do it there. I don't even know where you do it. You can basically set it so that people can skip ahead into your video past certain parts. So for one of my videos, I might do talking about my dog, and then releasing the Quacken, and then trying to catch some ducks, and then showing the new ducklings. And so I might have 4 or 5 chapters in. For Mama Z, what you might want to be doing is the story of this recipe, and the setup of your recipe is the first chapter. And then you have another chapter talking about the ingredients, and then, getting ready to bake. And then you have the finished product. You could do certain chapters like that. Again, I'm not sure how much help or hurt they are for you though. So I've been so busy. I have not invested the time to do it. All right. Do we have any volunteers or no?
Yeah. We've got another person that's volunteering here. But before we do that, Farmer Brad is talking about need 3 time codes in your description. For those of you that don't know, if you put down a time mark in your description where people can click on it, and the video automatically advances to that particular time thing, what a lot of people don't realize is that counts as a new view. So if you have time codes throughout your video to highlight certain parts that you're talking about through your video, let's just say it's a 10-minute video and you have 8 time codes in there, and people are looking down in your description and they click on those, the video automatically advances to whatever that time may be it ahead or behind from where you're currently at. And every time it does that, it comes up as a new view. It counts again. So that's something a lot of people don't realize. However, I don't know how they go for their view retention if your view starts at 6 minutes into a 10-minute video. So
yeah, I mean, where I would see this appealing, and I'm not sure the sponsors would like it. If you were doing a sponsored video and you have a built-in commercial, you might want to give people the ability to skip past it. Yeah, I don't know. I could see there's benefits. I haven't had the time to really get into it.
Okay, the Naked Gardeners would like their channel undressed.
The Naked Garden. It's not Kid. All right. Naked. I don't think I'm familiar with them. I'm not familiar with them. Here we go.
Right there they are.
Boom. All right. Well, you got to pretty clear what your channel's all about. I'm disappointed. You're not naked. I mean, I would just assume.
Oh, don't even tell Sydney that.
I mean, look, if you want like my thumbnail strategy, like even if you're just doing your thumbnails without your shirt on, it will you'll pop like that, and people would be waiting. Is this dude naked? Like, what's going on here? Like, so that would be one thing to think about. But actually, as I'm looking at your thumbnails, I think these are really good. They're eye-catching. I think, maybe making your text a little bit bigger. I'm noticing like you're using the text, and it's nice because it pops, and you've got this purple and yellow and gray and white branding that you're using on a pretty regular basis. I would just actually push to say, do you want to maybe use a little bit less text and make it just a bit bigger and a little bit more prominent? So that would be one thought and suggestion, but honestly, it doesn't look bad the way it is as I'm looking at it right now. But especially in your recent thumbnails, I think it works really well. I think you are doing a nice job sort of, drawing the attention into the topic. So like this organic gardening for beginners, eggshells, I think that's a nice thumbnail right there. I think the 5 vegetables you can grow, tubers, I think that's a good one. Your garden tour videos have sort of unique and interesting thumbnails to them.
Tori's on here now.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Tori, Mrs. Naked Gardener, Tori just got on here.
Oh, okay. I guess my only complaint would be not enough nakedness for naked gardeners.
Well, Sydney is the Mr. Naked Gardener. He says they're naked under their clothes.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, and Tori says she's about to have more fun with their thumbnails now.
I'm just saying, if you want a breakout strategy, that would be the first thing that pops in my mind. But no, I think you guys are actually doing a really nice job with your channel branding, with the thumbnail itself in terms of how it's popping. And actually, what I want to call attention that you guys are doing really well for other people who are trying to watch this and pull something from it. Your photos are nice and contrasty as well as nice and really saturated. I think a lot of times people end up using, and particularly if they're using like video stills, just thumbnails that look sort of blah and the colors don't pop and aren't as sharp. And I'm going to actually pick on my buddy Jason here just because it was one of those things, and actually as a contrast, I can actually show him something he can try to do to be a little better. Like if I look at sort of Jason's thumbnails here, right? And like sort of like this one about Robin's birthday where it's sort of washed out, versus if you look at, is it Sydney in his thumbnails here, like they pop, like they're like, the colors are brighter, they're more saturated, the contrasts are higher, the brightness itself is a little bit higher, and so I think you're doing something really nice with that. And if other people are looking for things to dial up and what they can do differently, it's to just take that thumbnail, and whether it's into, you can even do it on your phone these days if you're editing the image on your phone, just to enhance the brightness, enhance the contrast, enhance the saturation a little bit. Like, don't go crazy, don't make it look unnatural, but if you look at like what Sydney's doing, I think those are so much more eye-catching than a lot of other thumbnails out there, and so I think they do a nice job there. All right, let's look at a video and see what your first kind of minute or so looks like, again, without any audio, and I know it's totally unfair. All right, this is pretty good. Boom, all right. Yeah, he's getting right into it in the first 30 seconds. We're looking at the coffee grounds and the dirt and what's going on here. Yeah, no, this is good. You're adding visuals to break it up a little bit. Yeah, you're going now to sort of getting close-ups into it, showing the process, close-ups, back to a talking shot. No, I mean, as I'm scanning these, this doesn't look bad at all. Here, let's look at another one just to make sure I didn't just catch a good one. Yeah. No, again, see, you can see it like in the first 30 seconds here, where this video, you're going from a quick shot of Sydney to close-ups of the plants to getting right into the content that he's talking about with the marigolds. That's the whole reason people are clicking on the video. And so, yeah, I think it's really coming together nicely. So, yeah, kudos. And I wish I had more advice for you. I think, but overall, you're kind of on the right track.
Well, apparently they had an issue on Naked Gardening Day. They were getting a lot of click-throughs, but people dropping off hard way because they weren't naked.
Well, let's actually talk about that, because I think that might be one thing that's worth considering, right? So, you know, you have people who might sort of like it's an enticing. People are always curious to see naked in anything, right? And so, like, is your title of your channel clickbait? Would be maybe one question to ask yourself, and sort of, why is it naked? Is that important? Is that going to draw people in? It's a funny, memorable name, so I actually think you have the benefits there. But if people are not getting what they expected or wanted, you might be turning off a certain chunk of people. I don't know. That's pure speculation on my part. It's not based on anything other than me trying to guess something.
We're going to want to talk about something else here with them, specifically the Naked Gardeners, but I'm trying to remember, what was the initials that Tori was using?
Oh, I don't remember.
Mrs. Naked Gardener.
Yes, Tori's on.
Yeah, what were the initials you were using? Why you don't or you show up in just a few videos? I'm waiting for her to pop that in there. And Sydney's saying it is naked because we are organic, no chemicals.
Oh, okay, got it.
His face is turning people off. God. Those two are like that constantly.
Going Green Mom says it drew me in, but I'm a nudist too.
Well, you know what they say: you can be a nudist or a Buddhist.
Yeah,
but you can't be both.
RBF.
Yeah. Mrs. Naked Gardener says she's an RBF, which is the acronym for resting bitch face.
Oh, okay.
And I said, I don't think so at all. Now, she is in a couple of thumbnails here. I do not think she has a resting bitch face. I'm sorry. She's a pretty looking lady.
Yeah, you know, the one thing you might want to try, if that's your concern, you know, I think Mrs. Naked Gardener only seems to pop up in the live stream thumbnails, and sort of try that premise out in some of your regular thumbnails, because I think it's always tough to compare live stream performance to a regular, even though actually as I'm looking at your numbers and on your views, like they're actually all about in sort of the same ballpark. Yeah. You know, actually, here's one observation for you, and this is actually the pain of falling out of your niche, right? So most of your stuff is focused on gardening, which totally makes sense. But then you have this one video about the perfect soft-boiled egg, and it looks like it's like one of your lower performers, right? Where it's got like 81 views, and it just shows you that like YouTube just does not help out people who vary outside of their niche. It's one of the biggest challenges. Like I struggle with it all the time, where if I make a video about chickens or about like farm business plans, or I never actually make videos about my trees because they always perform so poorly, compared to like if I do a video about a duck, it does great. And I think it's got something to do with inside the algorithm, where the algorithm tries to show a like video to a person who's already liked a video of that type. And so if you like gardening videos, you're probably going to like this video that Sydney did about drip irrigation. But if you like Sydney, it does not necessarily mean you're going to like his video about a soft-boiled egg. And so it doesn't give you as much flexibility to vary outside of that. That's not to say that you shouldn't or couldn't. You got to keep making videos that you want to make interesting for you. But you do want to try to focus on kind of figuring out ways to I'm losing my train of thought here. I've been talking too long. You do want to find ways to keep the content interesting for you.
I think they have kind of a catchy title on this one. What's the best way to kill a chicken quickly?
Yes, that's a good title. That is, I would agree with that.
Okay, Morgan, you want me? I still have your share screen up. You want me to get your screen back up here now?
Yeah, you can send me back to my camera. Say farewell to everybody here as we get to 10 o'clock. So hopefully this is helpful for folks. I always like hanging out with you guys.
Well, we enjoy having you. There we go. We certainly enjoy having you. Here, I'll get me up beside you here.
All right.
So, Morgan, I really appreciate your time here tonight, and I think everybody in the chat very much appreciates it too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They're tired of hearing me talk about them.
Well, I hope everybody got some value out of it. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody who I did a channel review on. I really want to help. And if you guys that I did channel reviews on want more feedback or questions, just shoot me a message on Facebook or my email or something, and I can try to help you more. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can get folks to put some of your have our monitors been putting in his Facebook and stuff like that. Yep, they already have been.
Okay.
So, got you
Cool.
covered. Got you covered. Morgan, anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. I'm I don't know. Got to get ready for bed. Got another early morning tomorrow.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Morgan. I don't want you to go anywhere, but if you're ready, we'll kind of pull us off the camera here. Again, thank you to Stivers for the super chat earlier. Thank you to all of our moderators. You do a fantastic job. Special thank you to all of our members. And if you'd like to become a member, if you like what we do here, you just click that little join button there, and we certainly do appreciate that.
Rich Refuge, Morgan is asking, where do you get your experience from?
Where do just doing lots of YouTube. I've been doing, last 2 years, I've done 2 videos a week, and just I keep practicing, and then I'm sort of a data geek, and I've read and researched as much as I can on the topic. That's where most of it comes from.
Yeah, we won't be on Thursday.
Yeah, we will not be on Thursday. We will be on the road. We are going to probably one of the very, very few conferences of the year.
The only conference.
I know. I was bummed. I'm not going to see you guys because I heard they canceled HOA.
Yep.
Yeah, HOA is canceled, but we will be broadcasting live Sunday and Monday.
Sunday and Monday from Hannibal, Missouri.
Hannibal, Missouri, in front of the Star Theater.
And then there will not be a Monday night live or a Tuesday night.
Yeah, next Monday and Tuesday, because Monday obviously will be the final day of the conference.
Right.
And Tuesday we will be probably on the road.
Mm-hmm. Somewhere
on the road. So, I guess I'll just leave everybody with how I left folks last night. So just remember this, folks. One of the jobs you hate to do, if you clean your vacuum cleaner, you become a vacuum cleaner. Take care, everyone. Have a nice week, and we will see you later.